Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. I am Christy Ruffino, the host of the show, and today I get to interview Matt Travis. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Christy. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I know I met you, probably about 3 or 4 months ago in a joint venture community. And when I learned about the focus of his business, I was very intrigued. And you are going to learn about that shortly. But Matt Travis is a high performance, rapid transformation hypnotherapist and business coach. He helps busy mom entrepreneurs transform their subconscious minds, health, and business habits to ensure a sustainable growth strategy as their business evolves. His ultimate mission is to empower people at a deep subconscious level to become the person that their dreams require without sacrificing their lifestyle and mental well-being. So that is a lot. That's a huge promise, Matt.
It's a big promise.
Yeah.
I can do it though.
Yes, I know. I've heard great testimonies from people in our community. So how did you get into this field? What was the story behind the story that you've created right now in your life?
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I didn't ever feel like I was good enough because I had a lot of learning disabilities. And I had this kind of overachiever mentality as I was told I wasn't going to get into college. And then I was told in college that I wouldn't get into my major. And then I was told that I wasn't going to get a job out of college. And I kind of just didn't accept any of those non-empowering diagnoses. And I just kind of pushed through that and proved all of them wrong. And I ended up in my first job I was a physical education teacher for kindergarten through third grade, which is so fun. And it was awesome. And I was also coaching football at that time, and I fell in love with fitness. And I started to realize so many of the players weren't moving well. So I got into functional movement and functional fitness, and I opened a fitness facility. And at the same time, I was finishing my master's, having our first child, getting married, trying to do way too much. And the doors open and here we go, off to the races. And, first year, second year, I didn't feel super stressed out, but I was, because you're taking on all of this stuff and it catches up to you and your body starts telling you when things are falling apart. And my body was telling me through sinus infections that I was burning the candle at all ends. I was still teaching, I was running my fitness business. It was too crazy. And, when you have sinus infections, doctors give you antibiotics. So I ultimately destroyed my gut health in this process. So, and as all that was happening, the business was growing. So I had to kind of pull myself out of this tailspin of destroying my health, and I was missing my family, and things weren't going the way that I had envisioned them. And I realized, when me and my wife had our second miscarriage, that, we were driving to the hospital, and basically my head coach at my fitness facility quit via text and kicked everybody out of the fitness facility. And I had to bring my wife home and leave her at home in one of the darkest moments of our lives, something I'll always regret, to go deal with business. And at that point, I drew the line and I was like, this is it. I am done. I'm done. Right. Like, I love helping, all my members at my gym, but this just isn't working anymore. And something's got to change. And that's when this online program kind of came into my mind. The Potential You was how to help, kind of my members at that point were, a lot of them were female high school athletes and moms. And I really just loved the idea of helping moms, because moms are such an amazing linchpin of the entire family. Like, they're the thing that kind of keeps it going. And I realized when I got mom healthy and happy, it actually helped the kids and the rest of the family. And there was a big ripple effect there. So that's kind of what I pushed into when I started the Potential You. And it was all about putting their oxygen mask on first, making their life a lifestyle. And if they run a business, that the business isn't stealing from their lifestyle, and really just not doing what I did. So I just turned my pain into my path. That's it.
Yeah. So many people have, I mean, that's honestly the premise of what we do here in Overcoming Mediocrity with our books and our podcasts, is how our story is really in our direction now is because of something that happened to us, and your pain became your path. And now that is what is giving you the purpose, the passion, as well as the wisdom and the insight to be able to help people in this way. But why women? I mean, I understand that women are important and they're the linchpin, and I'm a woman, I'm a card holding woman. But like, why would you not focus on helping men? And why women? I mean, there's got to be something behind that.
Yeah. Honestly, this is really how it happened. So when I opened my fitness facility, it was with high school basketball players and high school football players, all males. And within 3 years, I would say, I looked out on the floor and I realized that it had completely evolved just organically to, like I said, female high school athletes and a lot of moms. There was a handful of men in there as well, but it just kind of manifested in that way. And I just was trusting the universe and realized, there's something to this. There's something to this. And I really love working with women, because a lot of times I'm able to help them. I don't know if I'm able to channel my feminine energy. I'm not totally sure. They probably could speak to that even better, but we've just created a really safe and amazing environment for them to be vulnerable and to have the transformations that they want to have. And I find that, out of the handful of men that, out of the hundreds of people that have been through my program online, a handful of them have been men, and they've been men that are open to being vulnerable and making that transformation. So I'm not opposed to men whatsoever, just so you know. Like, they can absolutely join the program. I would love to have them. I do a lot of rapid transformation therapy individually with men. But yeah, it will work if they're open to being vulnerable and pushing through their limitations.
So I don't even know if you know this, but I started a women's networking organization 19 years ago. We're almost at 20 years, which is super exciting. And I've had, this question, why not men? And there's something about women connecting and uniting, and we've got this great like family and sisterhood. But what I will say, being surrounded by women all the time, is men bring something different to the table that I believe women aren't able to. And with this topic, I could see how, if you're able to relate to us on our level, I think there's a little bit of more of an empowerment piece that you could maybe bring. I don't know, but there's something different that I could see where this would really, really work. I mean, obviously it does, because look at all of your success stories.
Yeah, for sure. And, we're actually starting something in the near future it's about kind of like the communication breakdown sometimes between couples, and seeing how I've worked with hundreds of women and have a very unique experience with that. And really learning. This is probably my biggest responsibility as a coach, is I get to learn their dreams, their hopes, their fears, their worries, all of these things, and really start to understand their thought process. And what we're trying to do as well is trying to bridge the gap and help, other supportive partners understand what that looks like, and really learn their love languages, and just, it's going to create a better healing dynamic within their relationship. So I think there's a lot of benefits just in the program alone. And it affords itself the chance to create these other avenues to really help people in all aspects of their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to hear about that a little bit more, because I know you mentioned that before the interview, you kind of touched on that. But I want to get back to the male female thing, because and not that we didn't get off it, but I think what I was thinking in my head as you were talking is if there's a trust relationship with you and women feel that, you're there to help them and there's no other agenda, I believe if that trust is there can be, I think, a level of openness that we may be able to, that I could probably have with you that I may not with another female. I don't know. Like there's something there to it.
There's definitely something there to it.
I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sure that there's like a psychological reasoning why. And I know I have a lot of male friends, and I can relate to them completely different. And I think in this topic of empowerment and all that, I think it's great.
Yeah. And like I said, men, please come join us. I would be glad to help take you through a body and health transformation and a mindset transformation. Every single one of the guys that I've had come through my program have been fantastic, and they've done wonderful. I just find that we tend to attract women. That's just so we go with it. We go with you.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, that's the whole, my path too. I didn't plan my path. Yeah. I'm just doing the best I can to keep up with it. And it seems like you're doing the exact same thing. God or the universe is bringing the right people to you that you can actually make the biggest impact with. So I just think that's pretty incredible.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind hanging tight, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. And this is where you have the opportunity to share your ninja tips. And I know you have an amazing gift that you're going to share with our audience. So if you're listening, don't cut out now. Hang with us. Stay with us till the very end, because you're going to be really glad to be able to take advantage of this great gift. So hang tight. I know. You hear us asking you to subscribe, rate, and review, but what does that really mean? Is it really that important? Well, if other podcast hosts are anything like me, they've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their show. And personally, I get really discouraged when I have something great to share and no one is listening. Beyond algorithms, ratings and reviews are critical for a show's sustainability. It goes way beyond fanning the flames of our egos, or by getting a little "that a girl" pat on the back. Reviews create social proof and prove that our show has an engaged and loyal following. So if you like our show, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review. And while you're at it, pick up one of our Overcoming Mediocrity books on Amazon. You'll be glad that you did. Well, welcome back, everybody. I am excited to just jump right in. This is Christy Ruffino, and I have Matt Travis with us today. And we're going to be shifting our conversation away from why he works with women to talking about burnout. And I know burnout is a key reality that women have to face, working moms have to face, or just moms that are working in their home. Because I believe, and I've experienced, and I've seen so many women who feel they have to do it all. They have to be super women. They've got to take care of their family, their house, their spouse, their parents, their pets, their business, their everything. And then what happens is they get put on the back burner. Their health gets put on the back burner. Their balance, like life. I don't even think there is such thing as work-life balance, but I know burnout is a real thing, and that causes stress and causes so many other issues. So I'm going to quit talking and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about burnout, because I know that your program is all around burnout, and I know you have a lot of great wisdom to share on this topic.
And I love that. because you're passionate about it, and that's what I love. It's you see it for what it is, and like
I experienced it for years and years and years.
yeah. So like, I feel like I got to experience a small taste of what moms do on a regular basis, right? Where I was working a full-time job and then trying to build this business as well as, be a dad. And like, I feel like moms just go through all of this stuff where they've just given birth to this child. A lot of times they have to go back to work, right? Too soon, in my opinion. And then they, if they're trying to get into the entrepreneurial world, building that business on the side, and then being a mom in general is just a full-time job. And there's just so many pieces of that puzzle that can ultimately lead to habits that lead to burnout. Right. And
yes, I think it is about habits, right? I mean, that's your key. Your quote is, we don't get what we want in life, we get our habits. And if we have bad habits, we're going to have everything else bad underneath it.
Yep. And nobody really wants to talk about habits. I feel like habits are not sexy, but they are so important. And this is the biggest thing I want everybody to understand is like, you are not your habits. Like you don't wake up in the morning and are like, oh, I'm going to do this junk food eating habit, or let's try this procrastination habit. You don't do those things consciously. You do them subconsciously, right? You just do what you do. And that's where, in order to break through this, we of course have to establish some new self-care and even some self-love habits. Right. I find a lot of times, moms are really, really, really good at serving everybody else. When it comes to the kids, time, money, and effort, no problem. Their career, time, money, effort, no problem. But when it comes to themselves, a lot of times there tends to be a breakdown, is what I've found. And it's like, that's where we have to bridge the gap between, like I think of it as enoughness comes in two forms. It's the self-worth and the capability piece. So it's knowing that you're totally worth investing time, money, and effort into your well-being, right? And a lot of times, and you hear this all the time, like it's, I hear this all the time, it's selfish, right? Like I feel selfish taking time to do this, that, and the other thing for myself. And that's where, if that's the underlying thing, it really sabotages the habits that are developed. And it makes it so that that's a quick, easy spiral into burnout, because there is that, that other capability thing. And you said it in the intro there, where it was like, you feel like you have to do everything. You feel like you have to be this super person. And that's just, it's crap. Like, it's fed to us by the media, right? And social media. And you look at all of these things that aren't real. And, right now, I know that you're doing the absolute best that you can 100% do, right? And if you want it to get better, it just takes new habits, right? Like it just takes new health habits, new mind habits, new thought patterns, new beliefs, a new identity that will allow you to step into the person that you're trying to become. And if we do that, then we get what we want, right? So if you establish those habits, you're going to have that underlying safeguard against this thing that is burnout. And we can talk about what burnout is and what it isn't as well.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. I mean, we've all heard the story about the oxygen mask, right? We have to put ours on first before we can help others. And I think logically we know that, but we don't necessarily do it. And maybe it's because of the bad habits. But what can we do to create new habits, to be purposeful in our action, so we don't think about it, we just do it the way we're supposed to, so we can be stronger, more resilient, and show up better for the people we love?
For sure. It starts with awareness. I mean, awareness is everything. And many of us are unconscious to the fact that this is actually leading to what we have, like this, all of these things that we do lead to this particular thing, right? Most parents out there, they're just trying to be the best parents possible, right? Most people that have jobs, they're out there just trying to be the best employee. In their business, they're trying to be the best business owner. And we're just trying to meet these roles. And that's where, when we have all of these other things on our plate, it's getting back to, what about me? Like, what about taking care of yourself? And when you go and look at, okay, why do I feel exhausted all day? Why do I feel like procrastinating? Why do I feel like curling up on the couch at night and doing nothing and, binging Netflix, right? And how come, I have trouble sleeping? So it's just starting to pay attention. And I do this with people a lot with food. Like, one of the main parts of my program is helping people transform their eating habits so that they can, a lot of the things are what we put in our mind, but what we put in our body really impacts, like, our gut health and our brain health are so interconnected. So when you're having somebody try to shift, we'll use eating as an example. When they're trying to shift an eating habit, we have to understand and be aware why we have that habit, right? Why do we eat junk food at nighttime when everybody goes to sleep? There's a reason behind that. So it's understanding the antecedent, what happens before, what it is, right? And then that creates the behavior. And that ultimately gives you this consequence. So the ABCs, right? And when we understand what the antecedent is, we can start to feel it too. So we have this habit, right, that kicks in. It's like, hey, kids are asleep. You're at the end of your day. I think there's ice cream in the back of the freezer, or I think there's chocolate somewhere in here, right? And you go rummaging. And because you're also getting what we call the habit alarm, or your urge, it's the urge that kicks in, that your mind has figured out, okay, this helps me de-stress. This helps me get back to homeostasis. It makes me feel better, right? So then you go and find it and you eat it, and it turns the alarm off. And yet you might even be brain battling. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm trying to change my health. I'm trying to change. And then, of course, you do it. You turn the habit alarm off. And then, of course, so many times people beat themselves up because they're trying to change the habit, but they're trying to change it with willpower. They're trying to change it with motivation. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we try to do that with all the different habits in our life. So I tell people, you have to be aware of that first. And then we have to just dismiss that piece. We have to dismiss all of the things that we think are part of us when it's really just a habit, right? You're not a procrastinator. You might have a habit of procrastination. So we're dismissing step one is awareness. Step two is dismissal. We're dismissing this habit as not who we are anymore.
So
right?
it's not a belief anymore. It's just
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not that you can't go and do those things. It's that you're deciding consciously, and then it's leaking to your subconscious, that it's just not what you do anymore. It's not who you are. You're breaking this habit, and it's uncomfortable. So this is just a habit. It's not me. Doing that out loud can create this pattern interrupt, right? This is just a habit urge. It's not me. And you're creating that disruption of that habit. And when you do that, then it separates you from the habit. And then the biggest thing after that, so awareness, dismissal, and moving attention. So we have to move our attention from what it was on to something new, because you can't want what you're not thinking about. I'm going to say that again. You can't want what you're not thinking about, folks, right? If you're not thinking about that ice cream or the chocolate or whatever it is, right? Then you can't want it. If you move your attention and you change it to something new, right? Watching a show, taking a warm bath, doing some essential oils, right? Taking a walk, right? Yoga, meditation, whatever it is, right? And in the beginning, it's uncomfortable because your mind's like, hey, that other habit was working. It made us feel better, right? But when you do this and you do it repetitively over and over again, it starts to change that at a subconscious level, where rather than beating yourself up for doing something you didn't want to do.
All right. Well, that's great. So we are creating that awareness. We're dismissing it and realizing that that's just a habit. It's not, we don't need to internalize it or become a part of our belief system. We need to recognize it and dismiss it and then move our attention to something else. So I have a habit of, after I eat, wanting something sweet. Now, my whole life, part of dinner was dessert. My mom always made a big dessert. That was just my whole life. I never thought there was anything wrong with it. And so I've gone through periods where I've gotten away from sugar, but I always come back. So I've never done this step about moving my attention to something else, but I can see how that would really be helpful if I could find something else to fill the gap.
Yep.
Then now I may not in the future ever go back to putting that bad thing in its place.
It's the one key a lot of people don't have in place, right? It's kind of like they dug a gigantic hole in their front yard, then they left it there, and one night they fell in it as they were walking home, right? So we got to fill that hole back in with something so that it does move your attention, because you are where your attention is in life. So when you fill that hole back in, it makes a huge difference, like a huge difference.
So I can definitely see that. What would be some good things to substitute?
Yeah,
I'm sure you've like given ideas to your clients. Like, what are some really great strategies for that?
Yeah, there's so many. And like we have literally, like I give a list to clients, like it's just all of the things I've ever thought of. And I find that it's best for the particular client or person to pick 1 to 3 things. Because what happens is they'll try one thing and they'll be like, that didn't work. Right. And they'll go to this other, and then they'll go right back because they're like, oh, doesn't work. Right. But if they have 3 different options, 3 to 5 different options that they can play with, then it's going to give them a chance to do it. I'm a huge fan of the warm bath, right? Because it does a lot of things. It gets you away from the kids. You can close the door. You're alone, right? You can light some candles, do some essential oils, all that stuff. Yoga is one of our go-tos at our house. That's like, and yoga can be slow flow, folks. Breathing, listening to music, podcasts, coloring. Like there's a lot of different coloring books you can buy that are actually developed to be a stress reducer. Just taking a walk, getting out of your house, getting out of the situation and moving your body. Because all it is, like you said, it's a subconscious habit, right? It's been embedded in there since you were a child. So if we did rapid transformation therapy, we would go in and we would probably go to the first time you ever had dessert with dinner and how enjoyable that was and how it anchored this piece. And then we could even we would even go to other places in which dessert showed up in your life to comfort you at certain periods of time, and how it created this belief that this is what it is. Now, for some people also, it's a blood sugar piece. And that's a whole different thing, a whole different topic. But you can see how those specific options to give people these other options, bringing in awareness, can be so key to giving them an alternative to the same thing that they're always doing. It's just another way to remove resistance.
Well, this has been really great, Matt. So much great insight about this whole thing. And I know burnout is a key challenge for female entrepreneurs. And I know you have this great program that you're launching shortly, which should be out about the time that this episode is airing. So we'll make sure that the link for that is in the show notes. So what I'd like for you to do in the last minute or so is share about what that program is, and then share the free gift that you're so graciously providing the people that listen to this, or our audience in essence?
Awesome. Yeah. So we're running a workshop. It's a 5-day, absolutely free workshop, folks. It's called Beat Burnout for Life. And it's all about, empowering your mind, empowering your body and health, empowering your business and career, and really, creating that environment that you want and becoming the leader of your own life. And if you like this and you really enjoy the workshop, it goes into a program that we offer called the Oxygen Mask Accelerator, which helps people really build all of these skills, over a 90 to 180 day period. And I love giving this gift away. It's called the Mind Body Business Transformation. And it's really for entrepreneurs, but it's for anybody. Like it gives people, it gives them the stuff that they need to know really about their mind and how it pertains to their body and their business, so that they can create an action plan. Because I think there's so much learning out there and there's not enough doing.
Yep,
right.
yep.
So this is an action program, both the 5-day free workshop and this little mini course, the Mind Body Business Transformation mini course. They are there to support you in making a plan for yourself so that you can actually go take action on it and start changing these habits so you get results.
I'm actually looking on the landing page for this free gift, and this is like perfect. So it's about having an unstoppable confidence mindset, having the body, energy, and health that you've always wanted while building an epic business or career. And I'm all about epic. That is the foundation of my program as well. And so this is a 24-page workbook, 7 video modules, and it's absolutely free. So I really appreciate you sharing this, Matt.
My pleasure. Yeah. Anything I can do to support you and your community, it's what I'm on the planet for. It's my dharma.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to our podcast today. If you learned anything, I really encourage you to share it with a friend, because we absorb more wisdom if we teach it to somebody else. So share it, pass it on, play it forward. And please, if you have not taken the time, go to wherever you listen to podcasts and like our show, rate our show, subscribe to it so you get more amazing episodes. And then we will see you next week when we have our next guest on the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. So thanks again, Matt, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.